Okay.
Okay, restart it and don't do anything weird.
Okay. All right. Check. Check. Take two. Welcome back to the alignment. Today we're going to be talking about the topic of love, self-love, how to cultivate it in our lives, and what is this idea really? We talk about love so often, but rarely do we give serious contemplation to what it is exactly.
I feel like the power of love is very profound and we feel it and see it in our everyday lives. But sometimes certain people find it really hard to cultivate that within themselves, and life becomes very dull as a result of that. So, it's today we're not only speaking about romantic love per se, the love that you find in another person, but we want to talk more about how you can find that within yourself as an individual, and how focusing on yourself can bring you a romantic partnership as a manifestation of that. But I want to know, what's your idea of self love?
Hmm. Yeah, I think self-love is perhaps one of the most important spiritual developments that we can ever endeavor to build for ourselves. Everything extends from the relationship that we have to ourselves. Um, People will often find that when they start this path of building more self love for themselves, they will experience more love in their relationships beyond themselves, with whether it's with romantic partners, family, friends. Often poor relationships, toxic relationships can have their certain roots in a lack of self love, a lack of self respect. Um, People perhaps have certain beliefs, low self esteem, um, this feeling of unworthiness, this feeling that they are not good enough, which can bleed into certain negative relationship dynamics, because people feel that they're not worthy of a loving relationship, for
That's true.
example. Um, People are often conditioned to feel a deep sense of insufficiency with themselves, and whether it's an insufficiency with how they look, how smart they are, how good they are at certain things. Um, Rarely are we really encouraged by our culture to feel a deep sense of authentic gratitude, a deep sense of authentic gratitude for who we are fundamentally. Um, there is so much really out there. People often, and I think comparison as well is one of the. I think, well, I remember a quote which says that comparison is the thief of joy.
That's true.
Um, People will
Yeah.
compare themselves to other people and feel a lack of love for themselves. They think, oh, I don't have what they have, or I'm not like that person. There are many real ways, I think, in which a lack of self love will manifest, really. But I'm curious to hear what your various thoughts are on self love. What is it for you in your personal life? What is your own personal development with cultivating this thing?
Yeah, for me, self love basically means how well I take care of myself and the things I do to bring myself joy without an involvement of another. That's what the self means. It's an individual pleasure where I do not seek for that external of me. And I've developed a very beautiful practice of finding peace and joy in my regular day to day life through gratitude and seeing the beauty in all things. And I'm quite simple, really. A cup of tea would make me really happy, or small things like that, or flowers, and just very natural things. So happiness has always been very easy when it comes from an authentic place, because I do not look for happiness in commodities or different means of, I don't know, just things externally. So for me, it has been quite an improvement to go on this emotion of happiness and introduce it in my day to day life. And I noticed that the more love I have for myself, the more others respond to that frequency. So the way you love yourself is how you set standards for other people to love you. That's something that I read recently. So it is up to you to be giving yourself all that you need versus expecting somebody else to come in a role of a boyfriend or a husband or whatever. No one can do that. Yes, they can give you glimpses of what that feels like, but you will be reliant and dependent on that person for your joy. So this is a skill that you must develop, where you find your own ways and means of joy. Also, creativity is very, very beautiful, plays a big role in my self-love journey, because I enjoy a lot of painting or making few aesthetic posts or recording, talking about things that I like to talk about. All of these things is more in service to myself. True service, if you want to be walking in your path, in your purpose, or you want to be true in service to others, there is no true service until you're in service to yourself first, because that teaches you, yourself teaches you how you can serve others, because at the end of the day we're all one. So how you treat yourself is how you will treat another person. And when you look at it all into this amalgamation of a singular focal point, it becomes very easy to see everything as just one. So the more you love yourself, the more joyful and happy you will be with other people. And yeah, that's just my take on
Mm.
that.
Yeah, I think we can look at our actions in the world and we can evaluate whether our actions are motivated by love or whether they're motivated by ego. Um, you made the important point of how we are all one, referring to this inherent interconnectedness that exists within reality by virtue of the fact that we are all parts of a whole, you know, and often people forget that they are the whole pattern. They identify wholly and completely with their separate identity as a skin encapsulated ego, and they view reality entirely through this lens of separation. They have various egoic agendas and goals and objectives, whether it's to get this thing or have that thing, to go this place. And when their entire world becomes consumed within that, it's a kind of world that is very much devoid of love. And love isn't a complex thing, it's a very simple thing.
Simple thing, yeah.
Um, you've made a important point of how you find the simple activity of drinking tea a loving act.
Yeah.
And tea is a very meditative act. Many monks will drink tea as a simple meditation to really
Hmm.
ground themselves into the
Yeah.
present. I think when we are talking about this notion of love, we should see love as essentially a force which binds things together, which breaks down the illusion of separation and allows people to realize their, their inherent interconnectedness with everything. And this means that you can love another person, you can love a tree, you can love an animal, you can love existence, you can love consciousness itself. Um, the inverse of love, of course, is fear. You know,
Yes.
it's fear is a force which keeps people stiff and repels people away from realizing that all of reality is one. It's something that reifies the illusion of separation, that we are all separate entities and that we are not all um, different ripples of the same ocean. Um, so I think that's a fundamental, almost metaphysical point to make about love, how love is awakening and fear is, um, well, it's reinforcing illusion pretty much. And an important thing about love is that when you're in a state of love, you cannot experience fear, you cannot
You
experience
cannot.
anxiety.
Yes.
Um, you you're truly transcending all those negative, dense emotions, which often are realities for many people who live loveless lives, who feel kind of rejected by reality, which is a sad experience which many people within society and the culture have to endure with. Um, but even for those people who do um, live within a world of darkness, you can transform a world of darkness as simply by lighting a candle.
It's true.
A small candle will illuminate um, a room that is fully dark. But importantly, if you're in a room which is well lit with love and light, like perfect light, any amount of darkness cannot exist within such a world.
Yeah.
Um, Light will always illuminate. So no matter how dark things can get, we can never forget who we are, you know? And, you know, life is such that there will be times which are challenging, there will be times which impose on us serious things to grapple with, serious tests. But it's important to maintain that inner light of love for ourselves, no matter how bad things get, because that inner light of love will always be a nourishing factor, a nourishing factor that will heal us ultimately. Um, People often remark about how having faith um, is a healing power in and of itself. When people are confronting various illnesses or whatever, that belief in an essential goodness, in a opportunity, a potential for better, is a very powerful um,
Belief.
belief structure for healing. The belief that there is no love in this world, the belief that there is darkness, will not it will not create that kind of world. Your beliefs will filter the reality that you experience, and it's important for us to have beliefs that support our well-being. The belief that love is real and there and is ever present reality. It's not just a feel-good belief; it is the
No.
reality. The belief that the world is dark, is terrible, and it's just a torture chamber for conscious entities to exist within. You know, you can assess that belief. Is that belief true? Um, I don't think it is true. Whilst there is darkness within creation, um, you cannot. It's like it's like pointing to a very small section of the canvas and saying this represents the entire canvas. You know,
Yeah.
but
It's
it,
a
it
small
doesn't.
part.
It is a reality. There are many dimensions of many frequencies of awareness, and there are different um, we experience our emotions on a hierarchy from higher to lower. We have very dense emotions of fear, anxiety, guilt,
Anger.
shame. We can rise up to more neutral feelings, and then there is something beyond that, you know. And when we're all on the journey, we all wish to sort of integrate our negative emotions and experiences and be able to alchemize them into a kind of gold, a kind of alchemical gold, which we call enlightenment, awakening, and a state of pure bliss and love. And this kind of love and bliss and joy that comes from awakening. It's not a consumptive love. It's not the love that you experience after eating a nice a meal or something like that, or consuming something.
Yeah.
It's a, a seeing into the ever-present reality of love in the existence of things. There is love in simple being.
That's true. Yeah.
Um, and that's a quite powerful thing to really appreciate. Because some people will look at reality and be, reality just is. I don't feel anything about it. But
Indifference.
for someone who is enlightened, they see the inherent mystique, the inherent wonder, the inherent fascination of everything, of all the patterns that surround and situate you. Some people, they need a tab acid to see this. Some people, they will meditate and they will realize it as a sudden moment of awakening, a satori or something as it's called in Zen. Um, it can happen in many different ways. Um, Ultimately, it is seeing the mystery that you are. I feel
Yeah.
that's one way to conceive of it. But I'll throw it back to you to say a few while I'm talking on for a while there.
No, I love the thought trail that you were on.
Mm,
And I would like to add to that that there are many ways in which people go on this journey of self love, but certain things happen and people fall off the track. Because sometimes self love, as described on media, is shown externally. They try to fill their cup externally, not realizing that the cup that they're filling is inside of them. So the water or the activity that will fulfill you will come from the inside. And also, when pleasure or creativity is concerned, it all comes from a place of appreciation of what you see around you and yourself. And what I notice is a lot of people de-appreciate or not appreciate a lot of things within themselves and around them, and that creates a space of hatred or dislike, because obviously there's a lot of things that we don't like, I mean, there's a lot of it, the list goes on. But if you choose to focus on the things that you do like, anything you focus on multiplies. So if you focus on the things that you love, like painting, or maybe you like making yourself a cup of tea, if you focus on little habits, they build up, it magnifies day to day, and you will notice that you will start realizing only the things that you like more, and things that you don't like will cease to exist. And anxiety and depression and all of that comes from a very fundamental source of not being able to feel joy. That's a disease. That's depression. You're not able to feel what is exhilarating, euphoria, and even if you do, it comes in bouts, it comes and it goes. You're not able to sustain that as a baseline frequency. Some people don't even think happiness exists because suffering has gotten such a high extent. But finding little joys is literally the remedy of all illnesses, be it mental, physical, emotional, because joy is healing. It is a frequency that rejuvenates. It is pure, and it is pure of love and light. And love is a byproduct of joy. If you enjoy something, you by default love it. It
mm,
goes hand in hand. Um, but there are a lot of ways and a lot of tools that can help you in that journey. Of course, it's not a single line. People can fall off that. So I noticed that sometimes certain stones or certain physical items with a higher frequency help me in maintaining that equilibrium, because sometimes it can get difficult, because if you're having constant negative energy around you, or certain family members, that make it really difficult to stay in that frequency of love, certain stones can be really helpful. For example, I use a rose quartz tower. Like, I think I do have it. Yeah. So I use a rose quartz tower like this one. You can use any rose quartz. A lot of people even know about it. But so I hold it with me, or if you're not a big stone person, you can wear it as a bracelet, as a necklace. It's important to realize the power of the stone. Now, this may look like a very pretty piece of crystal, but it is a lot more than that. The stone holds the ability to heal. So it is basically like when you hold the stone, it promotes a certain higher frequency, which emanates from itself. And if you hold it, or if it's on your skin or your body, you start merging into the same frequency of the stone. And rose quartz in particular is known for the frequency of love, promoting love, beauty, peace, and calm in anything and anyone that holds it. So this is an external tool. A lot of people also highly depend on crystals, which I don't suggest. but I definitely suggest making very good use and advantage of certain things that is available, which is a natural source of that. Something like that can literally change your life. And it is so simple, people don't even believe it, because they'll be like, oh, it's just holding a stone's going to change my life. Try it. Try it. So I have gotten into a big zone of the power of healing crystals. And as you know, on the page of alignment, we promote a lot of different crystals for different form of you can call frequencies if you're sad or if you're feeling a little mentally disturbed or unclear or your intuition is blocked. These crystals are very ancient. It's an ancient practice and it comes from very old roots, and you can always do your own research about it, but that will definitely help
Mm.
in my experience that I have noticed. And we also wear them. So I'm wearing a labradorite. No, this is a lapis. Sorry, this is a lapis lazuli. I just changed my crystal today, and a pearl. And what are you wearing today?
I'm wearing a bloodstone.
Can you show them?
There we go.
That's very pretty.
A bit nicer there, and also slightly dulled pyrite.
Yeah,
But
he loves the pyrite.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's my two crystals for today. But
Can I
yeah,
ask you a few questions about because I just introduced stone crystal jewelry to him. So, what is your experience since you've been wearing the bloodstone? Because you went all these years not wearing one, and you recently just
mm,
started wearing one. So, what's the difference that you notice in your life?
I mean, bloodstone is not the only sort of crystal that I've, worn or tested out. There's also a variety of others. Often, I will notice sort of certain changes to my sleep activity depending on what sort of stone I'm wearing. I did notice that particularly when I wore the Labradorite.
Yeah,
Um, Sometimes it's very subtle changes in your experience that you'll sort of notice, and you have to be quite aware of your general baseline
yeah,
um, it, for you then to notice by comparison how does your experience change um, when you're wearing the stone, when it's quite close to your body, and thereby influencing and reacting with the natural electromagnetic fields that your body produces. Um, this stuff, it isn't woo woo as it's often regarded in
no,
mainstream science. What we'll often discover throughout all of history is that the things that science tends to be defined as woo woo, 50, 20 years from that date, they'll eventually find some scientific
loophole.
studies that verify the authenticity of that thing. It's the
Mm-hmm.
same thing that happened with hypnosis, for example. Hypnosis was a weird phenomena that science looked down upon. Now they treat it with more seriousness. There are many different clinical studies that use it.
For therapy,
Same with
yeah.
near-death experiences, past life remembrances and stuff like that. It's important to have an open mind and to understand that much of the things that mainstream materialist culture has conditioned us to think as woo woo or just magical thinking, um, often those things are very ancient wisdoms.
Yes.
And there's a reason why our sort of control society has tried to diminish the um, profundity of such things, because such things, when people realize their power, they're stepping
Power.
into very
Mm.
ancient power essentially. So to come back to the stones and how have they affected my life personally, well, the bloodstone, for example,
It's your favorite.
yeah, it's the one I
He
tend to
loves that
wear
one.
most often. It's a warrior stone. It's good for your physical vitality, for your
Mm.
strength, um, and I think as well, like, on a principle basis, we know that certain colors, for example, will affect us psychologically. Marketers and advertisers will use this when they're adverts, or McDonald's, for example, they use the color of red often and yellow, to sort of
Symbolize.
symbolize certain things within us. Like the redness is meant to make us rush when we're going through the shop or whatever, so we go in and
Yeah.
out and whatever. And and
The yellow.
behavioral psychologists, they understand the significance of these. I mean, color is of course a frequency, and
Yes.
that frequency of the color is affecting our psychology when we see it. And everything around us is an expression of frequency and vibration. From people notice with anything that is of solid matter is also particles vibrating.
Vibrating.
It's vibrating, obviously in a very certain regular pattern, which gives us the illusion of solidity. Something that is more liquid and gaseous, it's more free flowing patterns. But and this is science, obviously. So when
Yeah.
we look at this is a solid. Obviously, that's comprised of various particles. Is in a particular arrangement that when I perceive it, it's a very bloodstones are very hard, very
Yeah,
hard.
and very heavy.
So of course they carry that idea of hardness, of solidity, of strength
Structure.
and structure, of course. And when you look at it, the various colors of it.
Yeah, can you
Um,
show them?
I'm trying to get close to the camera
Yeah.
without
Yeah, that's good
falling off.
enough. Yeah.
But
Has a little green in it, if you can
yeah, a little
see.
green, a little red,
Yeah.
a little white,
Mm-hmm.
and it can be a kind of meditation aid. You can look into the stone, try to you know see what is there. Essentially, as a kind of just
It also helps with fidgeting quite a bit because some
mm,
people who are anxious or they just need something. It's very good to hold the stone because your hands are always receiving energy. If
yeah,
you hold the stone for as long as you can or play around with it, whatever you want to do with it, as long as it's touching your body, you are absorbing the properties of the stone.
mm,
So that's a little fun tip, and it also helps a lot in raising your frequency at all times, especially if it's a jewelry item or you're wearing it on you. Because
mm,
holding a stone can get exhausting at one point. You're gonna have to keep it down and do other things. So we would highly suggest starting with like a small piece, like a ring or something really small, to try it out on a trial basis and see for yourself the difference that you may feel with that, and definitely come back and let us know if that has changed your experience or your way of living. But this is just something new that people can rely on now.
yeah,
And yeah,
yeah, and they should understand that these stones, they're not just pretty jewelry pieces. They're
even though they're beautiful,
Yeah,
but
they're
yeah,
very powerful metaphysical tools for um,
ascension.
yeah, for ascension. That's why it's often regarded, and many magicians in the past they would often utilize stones for their various magical properties. And we use crystal technology in all of our devices. In the circuit boards and all the wiring and whatnot. We just don't look at it as magical because it's science. You know, science. It's everyone. If you took a smartphone, obviously, to someone in ancient Greece, they would look at that as a magical device.
Device, yeah.
But to us, because we're raised with it, because we're conditioned to be so familiar with it, we neglect to recognize the wonder of it. This is the same with crystals. And you know, it's ultimately everything in reality, by virtue of being creation, is magical. It's there, and there's an inherent wonder. I mean, I still feel like I'm just dipping my toes into the world of crystals as a
Hmm.
kind of a way of exploring, the various forms that exist in reality. Isn't it crazy that there exist these things?
They've been existing for
Yeah.
billions of years, and it's definitely worth researching about and getting your own set of understandings. We provide you prompts by showing you, but it's a good trail to follow.
Mm.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think that's a good place to sign off. We've been talking for a
quite a
while
bit.
now, but
Yeah,
yeah, I think we'll conclude there.
yeah,
Um, Hope you guys have enjoyed that little discussion where we went from a conversation about love, obviously, to talking about crystals a little bit there at the end. Obviously, follow us on all the various social media pages that we have. We'll link in the description, of course. You can see as well the various crystals that we have available, of course, for sale.
yes,
If that's something that interests you, and of course all the other various contents that we're posting up on the alignment. We have our own personal pages.
Yeah.
I'm the Marvelous Mind podcast. You are
Mine's the joy when dies.
the joy when dies. Just
But
to go
you
in
you
nuts.
you find it.
But
You find it
yeah.
on the alignment page.
Okay.
But
But
yeah.
I think that is that. So goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye. All right. There we go.